Alrighty, here we are, jumping in Sunday games now. First Sunday game, you get jump across the pond over to London. Falcons 2-1, technically at the Jacksonville Jaguars 1-2. Jacksonville's a 3-point favorite here. They're pretty familiar with London. This will be the Falcons' third trip over there. Last week, Atlanta lost to Detroit pretty badly. Couldn't get that offense grooving. Their bread and butter of the run game just was a no-show, basically, or Detroit held them out. Jacksonville kind of got a little bit of embarrassing loss there to Houston. That was a game they should have won dominantly, and Houston kind of threw all over them. It was interesting. So this is a tough game to predict. But I guess based off of what Houston was able to do, they weren't able to run the ball very well, but they were able to pass, and that's not really the Falcons' kind of thing to do. I think the Falcons will have trouble running the ball against the Jacksonville Jaguars because they're not a great run defense, but they're above average. So let the Jags slow down this Falcons offense. The Jags can get cooking on offense, and they'll outscore them at the end of the day. What about you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, taking this game here, it's going to be a 9:30 in the morning in London game, so you guys got to wake up real early to watch this one on a nice Sunday morning. I'm going to take Jacksonville Jaguars here. I think that potentially when you take a gander at the numbers, don't want to get too involved in them because they're really shallow right now. You don't have much depth there when it comes to the numbers, so that's why they could be skewed and look real well. And statistically right now, Jacksonville is incredible against the run. They're letting up less than 100 yards a game. Bijan Robinson and what they're trying to do over there in Atlanta, their defense is playing good and their offense is running the ball well. And I think that potentially if, Jacksonville shows up and Lawrence has a good game, I think potentially you take the run out of it and you force Atlanta to throw the ball, and I think that's more kind of like your style. So if Jacksonville goes up early and often, by 10, 14 points, I think it's easy to keep the game in the ball in your court. So I like Jacksonville headed out to London. I think that they're the better team. How about you, Char?
Yeah, rough day at the office last week for Bijan. He got his first taste of NFL life. I think he only had like 36 yards rushing.
Still doesn't have a
Jacksonville on the
touchdown.
other, Jacksonville on the other side. Trevor Lawrence, another tough day for him in the
For sure.
offense, and an offense that many of us, on paper they're loaded. You're talking about weapons everywhere, but they've had trouble sustaining drives. Turnovers have plagued them as well. So it's a big game for both them and Atlanta. Turning back towards the winning ways. This game to me is going to be close. I think it's going to be kind of low scoring, just because of the start time and the differential in the time zones and stuff. I'm not expecting crazy fireworks over there. You touched on, the Falcons. They like to run the ball. I think Ritter's going to have to make some plays here. I think at the end of the day, though, I got to go Jacksonville. I think it's going to be close. I like the under on this game, and yeah, when push comes to shove, and Ritter's got to make plays. I haven't seen it yet, and it's early in the year. Not a lot of separation, like you were touching on. Not a lot of numbers to go off of as of yet. But he has not, set the world on fire with his passing ability yet. I think the Falcons will have some success on the ground, but yeah, I'm gonna go Jacksonville here.
No doubt.
With everybody basically predicting that Atlanta's going to be having to pass the ball, is Kyle Pitts going to get another London touchdown here to start his season off and see where it goes from there?
I mean,
It's like a weekly question.
he should. He's
He's got 3 in his career. His rookie year, his only touchdown was in London. He got 2 last year. This year, he's still a goose egg. Does he get his first one in London for the season again?
I would like to say yeah, because it's a head scratcher. I mean, again, these coaching staffs and the things that they do, I'm clearly not in that type of position. And clearly I'm just here being the observer and reporting about what I observe. But to have a talent like him, I would love to see him with the Kansas City Chiefs, how they would try and game plan for him. I would like to see him on a team that's going to feed him the ball and try and game plan for him, because he's not on a team right now that they think that he's capable of taking the top off or whatever it is. They're just not game planning for him, and that's crazy to me. But I very well think that it very well could be this week that he gets a touchdown and maybe even get 2 in this game. Very possible.
Yeah, him and Drake London definitely feel underutilized.
Head scratcher.
It'd be nice to see London score in London, I guess. But yeah, Pitts,
No doubt.
Pitts is a talent, man. Pitts is a talent. I think Ritter's going to have to at least throw 1 touchdown, if not 2, to win this game. So the opportunity will be there. Does it fly Pitts' way for once? I don't know.
I mean, if you got Bijan, start him. If you got Bijan in fantasy, start him.
Hey, we'll see. He didn't play so well last week. Anything else to add here for this London game, Atlanta-Jacksonville?
No siree.
All right, jumping into 1 o'clocks. First 1 o'clock is a wild game. And the fact that this is a 1 o'clock game blows my mind. But you get the 3-0 Dolphins going into the 2-1 Buffalo Bills.
Whoa.
2.5-point favorite here for Buffalo. A little bit surprising. I think the big thing here is bragging rights until the end of the season. They don't play each other again till week 18, and that might be divisional, decider based on how the season goes.
Home field advantage.
But if let's say Dolphins win this game, week 18 comes around, Buffalo's going to have to win it pretty decisively, to win over the division kind of thing. It could be pretty crazy. But yeah, so we'll see here. Last week, obviously, if you weren't aware or didn't turn your television or look at ESPN or your phone ever, Miami scored 70 on Denver last week. Buffalo Bills had their second strong performance in a row here after their slow week 1, but they got a nice win over Washington. But Dolphins are a different breed. They're average, above average defense, and then their offense is top notch, top of the line, top 3, top 1 in the league right now. So this is a real test for Buffalo, and I don't know if I'd even give them the 2.5-point favorite here outside of just the fact that you're traveling north, but it's not that cold right now. So I do like Miami here. Their ability to move the ball fast, their defense is enough to slow down this Buffalo Bills team. So I like Miami here. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's so hard right now to not like Miami, like moving forward, because what they're doing, and for them receivers, you got Tyreek Hill over there. I mean, Jalen Waddle wasn't even in this game when they put up 70, and I didn't even think about that. Charlie had to point that out to me. He still got the concussion though, so I don't know if that's even going to matter in this game. But there's a lot of people in this game that are chipped up and questionable in this game. So on both sides of the ball, you have, a lot of people questionable across the board. So that can't be the excuse in this game. This game's going to come down to game planning and depth, and on both sides, on both teams. But really what I'm going to be interested in seeing is if Tua and them boys go up early, okay? You take a look at these numbers. I know I said before that there's not much to take in the numbers right now, and that, I mean offensively and defensively, okay? When you look at Josh Allen with the 728 yards that he has right now, 5 touchdowns, what has he got lingering behind that we talked about coming into this season that he needs to clean up if you want to be championship status, Mahomes up there with the upper echelons? You cannot be doing this 4 interceptions, 4 to 5. That's not good. You're out here like Brett Favre, man, with wheels on you. It's not good right now. You got to stop those mistakes, man. You got to stop throwing the picks. And for that, I'm taking Miami. I'm out on Allen. I'm sure that moving forward, he's an incredible quarterback and he's going to get it together. But I don't know, man, that he's still throwing those picks and he's still throwing them down on the goal line. And Tua's got 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions and already has thrown for 1,000 yards. And I know a lot of that was the Denver game, but you cannot ignore Tua going to practice karate, okay? You just can't ignore it, right? You guys laughed at me because I talked about Jameis Winston getting the eye surgery. He's going to be a beast. But this is different. He was decent. Now he could take a punch. What do you got, Char? Taking offense.
It's week 4, but it's a massive game. It's a massive
Huge.
game, and Brady kind of touched on it.
It's huge.
Lightly. I'm gonna touch on it a little heavier. For the division, and
Wrap
you're
it
talking
up.
about even further than that, because home field advantage for a Miami's Dolphins team is crucial if they want to be in the Super Bowl this year. It's crucial because we talk about it, and a lot of northern people know that it's still pretty warm down here in Florida come wintertime. It's hot down here come wintertime. December and January, we still have 90-degree days.
Shorts.
So for teams to come down from the north like a Buffalo down here to Florida, it's a rude awakening to play a game down here after you've been sitting in 40, 30-degree weather for the past couple of months. It's that much more troublesome for a Florida team to travel north and to experience that kind of cold after sitting in this. So Miami, if they have championship aspirations, they need this game and lots more of the games like it to secure home field advantage throughout the playoffs is vital for a team like that. Same thing could be said for Buffalo because you want people to come to Buffalo to play. I think this game's going to be decided. Do the Bills get off hot? If the Bills can start fast, then I think this is a very competitive game. If they can keep it close, it means Josh Allen doesn't have to go Walker, Texas Ranger, and the turnovers probably would be more limited in that case, and Buffalo can win this. But I think it's on Miami's mind to pull out the same kind of blueprint that like the Bengals pulled on them last year in the divisional round, where they went up quick and Buffalo completely abandoned the run. And we've seen it many a times with Buffalo where they abandon the run and Josh Allen tries to do too much. I think this game's going to kind of lean more towards that happening. I like the Dolphins. It's a heavy over this week. I think if it's not the highest over, it's very close to it. It's 53.5. I don't expect points like we got last week in Denver, and even that Buffalo put up, because I think they put up like 36 at the end of the day on
37
Washington.
to 3 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a divisional game. I think it's going to be more like 28, and maybe the losers in the 20s. But I think this goes under. But I got Dolphins here. The fact that they are getting points to a little bit head scratching to me because that Dolphins offense has looked just so smooth. And obviously is predicated on, what Tyreek can do to a defense. But, man, the running game has looked fantastic, too. Just the way they're scheming up. Anybody could run through those holes, but they've got live bullets running through these holes when you talk about Mostert and A-Chain. It's a tough ask. It's a tough ask for any defense. But the defense for Buffalo has the caliber people to cause problems.
No doubt.
They do. So,
I think it's going to be huge. Tyron Armstead being questionable. If he's not a go at left tackle for them, I think that's going to be a huge component to how this game shapes up and shapes out. Because
he's
if
been
Tua's
shipped
on
up
the
all
move,
year too since the preseason.
because if Tua's on the move, it's going to be huge. And I mean, like you're saying, Buffalo has the firepower to get put Tua on the move.
Yeah.
You got Milano patrolling the middle. And Leonard Floyd was huge for them last week off the edge.
He's questionable.
They got a lot of speed.
And we remember, we heavily touched on, Charlie heavily touched there on divisional matchup here, but
yeah,
we got horse blinders on just on last week because that was a ridiculous showing.
Absolutely.
Versus Denver, but the New England was one touchdown away from tying that game. It was closer than it probably should have been. So Buffalo, another division, knows their opponent. This can be tough.
Oh, this is going to be blood sport. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
you're going to want to get the popcorn for this one and sit down. This is going to be a banger. Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else to add for this one?
No, sir.
Cool.
All right. Moving on. We went from this incredible game into this, whatever you want to call this next game. You got the Denver Broncos, 0-3, going Chicago Bears, 0-3. Denver's a 3.5-point favorite here somehow, I guess. They had decent showings first 2 weeks. both had embarrassing losses last week. Obviously, Miami was 70-20 to Denver. Chicago 41-10 versus KC, something like that, in that range. My issue is I don't see Denver having as many excuses as Chicago does as to why they're not playing well. Right? Chicago's losing coaches. Chicago's got, still has a bad offensive line. Like everything, this is another year back to back now that like Denver's supposed to have had everything they needed to be a good team, and you're just like, is it going to happen now? We're waiting? Did nobody press the launch button yet? Like the countdown was preseason. Why is no one pressing the launch button?
People are stealing their equipment from the facility.
People steal equipment. They're going to go out in the field shoeless or something coming up.
It's real Chicago up there, huh?
This one's tough to call because
no doubt
there's the Justin Fields factor, because he can just be like, all right, today I'm going to not listen to my coaches and I'm just going to run for 130 yards. Because he didn't run at all the past 2 weeks. So,
he's their leading rusher. He's their leading passer, and I mean, before the end of the season, he'll be the leading receiver. I mean, I'm sure of it. To be honest,
they're very well. I'm gonna go Broncos here. Just coaching matchup. Sean Payton should be able to handle an Eberflus and depleted supporting cast. So I'm gonna go Denver Broncos here. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, this is. Can I? You know what? Think about calling a tie here, bud.
That's not a bad play.
It won't be the first time you've ever done it there, Eddie.
I'm really thinking about calling a tie.
You got a good shot on this one if you do go tie.
Yeah. Crazy Eddie's called two of them. Both of them were close to being ties. I'll give them that.
Shout out Double D for hooking me up with the shirt. You're a beast, dude. Thank you for giving me the shirt. But seriously, like I got Denver down. I sent it to you guys. I got Denver down. But you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say that this is gonna end in overtime. I'm doing it. I'm just gonna do it, dude. Even though I really know Denver's gonna win. I'm going overtime here. What do you got, Char? I mean really, is that a crime?
Really, what I just wanted to say coming in here was give me the 3.5 with the Bears, and I don't pick a winner or a loser. Because I think it's going to be a field goal game. I really do. I think overtime's in play. I think a tie is in play. And the reason being, these are the two worst defenses in the league. So, like, their offenses are going to look better. The Broncos are giving up only 177 yards on the ground. League-wide worst. And then the Bears on the flip side, giving up 8.7 yards every time somebody throws the ball. They can throw it in the dirt, and they're still getting 8.7 yards per play through the air. So this is a situation I like it 27-24. Whoever's got 27, I'm taking to win. Give me the Bears with the 3.5, though. I think Fields has a good game. I think Russ and the offense for the Broncos has a productive game. I think it's just a matter of the time running out and who's, like it is with any game really, but
no doubt
who's leading at that point. This is a very tough game to call, but give me the Bears with the 3.5, and I feel comfortable.
You got a lot questionable over there for Denver, so
I got the Bears circle, so I'll ride Bears, but to me, really, it's a coin flip game.
It is. This is a game, though, fantasy-wise, I'd probably play Justin Fields if I drafted him.
I would, too.
Just because I think Denver, Charlie touched on it, Denver's bad against the run right now. Obviously, that Miami game skewed the scale quite heavily, but they're still a bad team against the run. And you could see it in his interviews. You can see it in his little quotes. He's over it right now. He's over Chicago. He's over the coaching. He's like, I'm just going to play football now. Like, I'm going to play my football.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's early in the year. Like, there's a lot floating around on social media that Justin Fields is the worst quarterback of all time all of a sudden. And those same people were picking him to win MVP this year. It's strange how people's opinions so quickly flip from one side to the other. I personally, I dug up some numbers, and I was talking with Eddie about it over the pre-show, And his numbers, I mean, dude is a 2 touchdown, 250-yard performance away from surpassing the likes of Matthew Stafford, touchdown wise, um, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, like big name quarterbacks. The numbers aren't that bad. The Chicago Bears
Are that
have
bad?
played that bad. They really have. They have not done this kid any justice. But it's a long season, and there's 3 undefeated teams right now. The Chicago Bears are only 2 games out of first place in their own division. Let's kind of let some of this stuff play out. It's the same thing with the Broncos. They're 2 games out of the lead. Like things can change, week to week. But yeah, it's a tough.
No
It's a
doubt.
toughie.
Very tough, I'd argue.
Very, very.
It's pretty tough.
Anything else to add here for this game? Final touches? Any highlights?
I think you play all your fantasy options here if you've got them, because there should be points in this game. Both teams should get into the 20s. There are probably going to be turnovers. Like I don't think you can really go wrong with starting your people, your DJ Moores, your Justin Fields, anybody you got on offense for the Broncos, including Williams at the running back position. Like this should be a healthy game for all your playable starters in fantasy, I think.
All right.
If
Rolling
there is a
on.
silver lining to this one.
Fair. All right, rolling on.
Let's go.
AFC North matchup. Baltimore Ravens 2-1, going into Cleveland Browns 2-1. Cleveland 2.5-point favorite here. This is Cleveland's third divisional game in 4 weeks. It's Baltimore's second. Like, talk about the mental toughness and the amount of film, because you're getting double film time because you're looking at last year's stuff and this year's. You're getting, dude, it's got to be a headache that how much information these guys, the players, have been having to take in just these first few weeks. I almost feel bad for Cleveland. But so looking at last week, Baltimore, disappointing loss to Indy there in overtime. Should have been a game they handled. Cleveland, big victory over Tennessee. Front, offense, back, defense, everything looked good. Shut down Tennessee. Tennessee had nowhere to go whatsoever. There's a couple of those teams last weekend, and Tennessee was one of them that got held back, and Cleveland did their job. Baltimore, injury bugs hitting them still. Will it ever end? That's the big question here. I do like the Browns here. Just tough run defense. I do almost worry at the fact of like that this is their third divisional game. Like the stress, the mental fortitude it takes to have to think that much. But these players that you see twice a year, some of these players, like, I'm sure people have nightmares about Lamar Jackson running up 200 yards on them. Same thing with the Ravens. Lamar probably has nightmares about Myles Garrett sacking them 3 times. Like, it's tough. But the fact that this is the Browns' third, only the Ravens' second, I worry about that a little bit. But I do like Cleveland here. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's tough for me not to go Cleveland here. Even though they're both teams are banged up. Let's be real. Even though they're talking about a miraculous timeline for Nick Chubb to come back, that's crazy to me. That's just nuts that they're even talking like that. But, Ronnie Stanley being questionable, Rashad Bateman being questionable, and hopefully Odell Beckham plays in this game. I don't know if Odell's going to play. But they really need him to help out here, considering the run game has been what the run game's been, and Justice Hill I think still questionable coming in. But we'll see how it pans out. Both teams are questionable, but I'm gonna take Cleveland here because I just think that they're gonna edge them out in the trenches just a little bit more for me, offensively and defensively. I'm taking the Browns here. How about you, Char?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like the NFL missed this week because every matchup is not a lot of separation. They did a great job with the schedule. It just happened to play out like that. But man, I'm torn between these two too because both defenses are playing phenomenal. Both a lot of speed, getting after the passer, been good against the run. Disappointing loss, like Brady said, against the Colts last week to the Ravens. Maybe that is a byproduct of those injuries starting to accumulate. Beckham, Bateman. All I've seen all year long has been a lot of Lamar using his legs. There's been a lot of Zay Flowers, which he's been brilliant, and then working in Andrews as well. Kind of the same old thing for Baltimore. It was supposed to be a little bit of a new look offense, and I really haven't seen that take off yet. And then the Browns, Watson finally had a good game last week, and
His
again, that
first.
defense is playing stellar. They didn't miss a beat without Chubb. They still ran the ball very effectively. Played Cleveland Brown style football. I originally had the Ravens circled here, but I think I'm going to fly back over to the Browns. It's a tough, tough game. I think they pull it out at the end of the day. But yeah, you're not wrong about what you said about the Browns. 3 divisional games in a row. That's blood sport.
Yeah, I mean
But
their list for the Ravens on the injury report is crazy. Linderbaum, Stanley, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham, Justice Hill, Adafe, Marlon Humphreys, and David Ajobo, and they're all been put on the list in September, and a lot of them are lower leg injuries. So that's going to hinder and slow down.
Pretty much all starters too.
Yeah, so that's why I'm going Cleveland here. Plus, it's in Cleveland, and I think they're going to have the upper hand in this one. With
We
all
saw
this.
that Cincinnati game in Cleveland.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
rough.
this
So
2.5 point spread, man. This thing could go either way. Yeah, this is another one that's going to be absolutely fun to watch. It sucks that this one's going to be going on the same time the Bills and the Dolphins, honestly,
why do
because
they do that?
that's a must-watch game too, in my eyes.
No doubt.
yeah, this 1 o'clock slate is wild, incredible. Probably the best 1 o'clock slate I think I've ever seen. But anything else to add for the Cleveland Ravens game? We're ready to move on.
Yeah,
Final touches. All right. Pittsburgh Steelers, another one of those AFC North teams, 2-1, going into the Houston Texans, 1-2. Pitt's a 3-point favorite here. Pitt had a strong win over Las Vegas last week. That defense was huge. Houston, big upset win over Jacksonville, their rival. That was huge, and C.J. Stroud looked real good again. But this Pittsburgh defense, I think, is just
phenomenal.
it causes problems. I mean, I think Las Vegas's offense is better than the Texans, and they gave Vegas offense basically zero room to work. I mean, Vegas scored, but it was pushing everything they had to pull it off. So I like Pittsburgh Steelers here just because I think it's going to be a absolute struggle bus for the Houston Texans to get something going here. CJ Stroud's good. He'll probably get rid of the ball, but I could see him having his first turnover of the year here in this game. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a big game for J.J. Watt at home sitting on the couch, huh? Give him really something to watch here, the brother and the team that drafted him. It's going to be a banger, but I'm going to have to jump on the Brady train here, and I'm going to have to say, man, that defense, man, Pittsburgh's defense is playing very well, irregardless to what you see out of Najee Harris and the Kenny Pickett program over there with the Pickens. I just think that defense is going to be too ferocious. I mean, he's a rookie. And TJ has just been playing out of his mind. The way he plays healthy and the help that he's getting from Highsmith on the other end is just really anything short of miraculous, considering, he's battled injuries and everything, and he's back at it 110%, just like an assassin out there going and snatching these quarterbacks up. I gotta go Pittsburgh Steelers here, because how do you go against the defense? They got the better defense here, and I just think that they're gonna stop the Texans from scoring points. Texans are gonna, if you're starting Stroud here, I think you sit him in fantasy. How about you, Char?
Yeah, fantasy wise, I think this is going to be a defensive game all the way around. I think this goes under the total. It's 42. I think this is going to be a very much a chess match type of game. One thing the Steelers were giving up last week was the passing yards. Devontae Adams, in particular, I think he had damn near 14 catches last week. It was when they wanted that, they got it. And the bread and butter so far for the Texans has been C.J. Stroud and his arm. I think you're probably right that there's probably a first turnover for C.J. Stroud, and as well as he's played, every rookie's going to have some tough games. I don't care how well you're playing,
No
and
doubt.
this is the tough matchup to go up against that pass rush with Highsmith and Watt,
Very
and the
concerning.
fact that you're down, as many offensive linemen as they are, and they've been able to get away with it for the past couple of weeks. Key is going to be getting that run game started with Pierce. You saw Jacobs start to tear off some nice runs last week against this defense. That's going to be imperative for the Texans. I like this thing 19-17. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Texans. I don't like particularly still what I've seen from the Pittsburgh offense here. They lucked out and got a couple big plays. Their defense obviously put them in good position as well a couple of times against the Raiders last week, but haven't been over impressed. This is back-to-back road games as well for the Steelers. I think the Texans find a way to get this one done at home, and I got Texans.
All right, that's our first. Besides for the toss-up coin flip game of Denver Bears, this is our first difference. Charlie's taking the first one, not continuing the trend. I like it.
Yeah,
Little bit
that
of showing
defense
here.
is just ferocious.
Yeah,
Shaq
but I mean,
Mason not being in there.
You touched on that though. Houston needs that run game to get going because Pierce and company have not shown up yet, and they need to. They need to help out this young QB.
No doubt.
Texans defense played very well last week though against Jacksonville and its high-powered offense, and I think
Pittsburgh's
they caused
offense is struggling.
3 turnovers. I think they scored once or twice on defense as well last week. So, D'Amico Ryans, that's what he's known for. That's what he, brought in the free agents he could and drafted how he did, getting Will Anderson. So it's this is going to be a grimy game. This one probably an ugly.
I'm
watch.
very surprised that the Pickens is just not developed like we thought that this season it would. I mean, because I know I did, and Charlie, we talked that we thought, well, at least I did anyway, for sure, that I thought 100% that those two were going to pop this year, and they were definitely going to be two that you couldn't not notice in my mind. I felt that was the way it was going to be, but then the offensive line hasn't shaped up and been a cohesive unit like it should be either. So in his defense,
I think the Steelers offense bears a lot of resemblance to what the Bears offense is going through. The Steelers offense has been stuck in the mud for a couple of years under Matt Canada. Lots of talent there. We look at that roster and the receiving core that they've always had. It's
Toledo Rocket.
You guys should be doing a lot better. And Najee hasn't got going, and that relationship is still growing between, Pickett and Pickens, and it's a nice one because you can see when it pops what it's about. They finally got Freiermuth involved. I think he had 4 yards on the season leading up into the last week here, and he finally caught a touchdown pass. So, I think he needs to get more involved in the offense as well.
Warren's a good a good change of pace back as
well. Fun to watch.
Yeah. Try and get him, get some plays executing him out in space. I think that he could also potentially do some things, kind of like a Hines type of back.
Yeah, he was huge when Najee went down his rookie year for a couple games, and Warren, it looked like the same offense almost. Like he was getting just as many yards, just as many touchdowns as Najee was getting. So he's good. He's a good mix.
He's a hard
him,
runner.
So.
He's a hard runner.
He's got that Tony Pollard different burst to him, when he was Zeke. You just notice it. He's touching the ball as opposed to Najee. Like those holes that Najee can't get to, he's able to pop through them. So
because Najee's for sure a north and south back, and you can kind of get a little bit different with Warren. So I like that. I like that different change of pace.
Agreed.
All right, keep it going. Another battle between 0-3 teams. Vikings 0-3 going to Carolina Panthers 0-3. Minnesota 3.5-point favorite here. Last week, disappointing loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. Carolina had a tough battle with Seattle. Couldn't just quite keep up there in the second half. But behind Andy Dalton, they finally kind of looked like a pretty solid team there for a little bit. But the Vikings are a team that can score heavy and they can score quick, and that worries me for a Carolina team that's looking for their first win, especially with a Minnesota team that's hungry for their first win. If Minnesota might have been like a 2-1 team, a 1-2 team here, I'd be a little bit more factor in looking at the Carolina Panthers as an upset here. But the Vikings are in the position to say, hey, we need a win here. We need to get some motivation because they're getting, it's almost a, one of those situations where the wide receivers are getting pissed now. So, and that's not something you want when you got JJ, as your guy. So you need to get some victories going, get the train running, clean up some football, play good ball. And obviously, the coach is calling out their players with turnovers. If you guys want to touch on that, I'll let you do it. But I'm going Minnesota Vikings. How about you guys?
Should there's hearing some rumblings of Minnesota trading Kirk Cousins to the Jets. I mean, obviously this is just fantasy, and people are just.
Yeah, I mean, I heard Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz both reached out to the Jets, and they're like, "No, we're good."
I heard that too. But do you think
I think that's Jets fans wanting something else. Just hey, Kirk Cousins. I mean, they're 0-3. I mean,
all three of them are basically the same, so I don't think you need to give up future picks for Cousins if you can just get a Cousins off of the free agency.
Yeah, like Cousins for a first round pick and Jeff Wilson. No, you don't do it. If you're the Jets, do you do it?
Did you just say Garrett Wilson? Hell no.
No, not Garrett Wilson.
The hell's Jeff Wilson?
Oh, not Jeff
running
Wilson.
Back.
No, not Jeff Wilson. That's the Miami running back. I'm talking about Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
And a first round pick for Kirk Cousins. I mean, if you want to go make the playoffs, yes, you do that. I don't think Kirk Cousins brings you to the Super Bowl, which is where you wanted to go. I don't think that Kirk Cousins taking you to the playoffs is worth your future, another first round pick.
I mean, if you're Minnesota to try and get the best talent coming out.
Oh, if you're Minnesota?
Year, you know what I mean?
Sitting at 0-3?
Yeah.
If you're willing to look around your locker room and be realistic, maybe that's why they moved on from Dalvin Cook. So, I mean, it's within the cards to say, yeah, if you want to take Kirk, we're willing to move on, and maybe they play for one of these, stud quarterbacks that are supposed to be coming out of here because, again, they haven't won a game yet. It's a little surprising, but
it is.
They won a lot of close games last year, though, too. I mean, field goal games.
But not having 100 yards rushing a game. At least 100 yards rushing a game. And we know that Cook was getting more than 100 yards rushing a game, but not having that 100 yards rushing in a game, again, goes back to how important not only the run game is, but how important the running back it is and how important it is to have an actual stud on your squad to help you out in situations. Because, I mean, you could argue that they have, if not top 5, top 3 best wide receiver core in the league. Like, there should be no excuse on why their receiving core can't be the run game, where you're dinking and dunking because of the routes that these guys are capable of running over there. I mean, you got studs you can plug in the slot. You got guys on the boundary you can get to. And then you have a quarterback that can make these plays. It's just mind-boggling to me.
The Vikings are the NFC version of the LA Chargers.
Ooh, I like it. LA Chargers.
They played last week and lost.
I'm taking Minnesota here because I think Minnesota overall is the better team and has shown, has proved to be in the past the better 0-3 team. So moving forward, obviously somebody has to win this game. You can't just continue to lose, or this is another overtime tie. I don't know, but I don't see the defensive backs on the Panthers being able to run with these guys all game. Maybe Madison can get something going.
Chipped up and missing a couple there in the secondary too, right?
Yeah,
Carolina.
Yeah.
Or they're chipped up.
Yeah, the dude is the one guy that Henry loved. He's on IR, I think, but he might be coming back mid-season. The defensive back, C.J. Horn, I think.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going Minnesota Vikings here. The Panthers are just a dumpster fire and continue on as though Matt Rule's the head coach. How about you, Chuck?
Yeah, they dump ship. Yeah, it's to me, it's the Vikings game to lose. They're very capable of losing it though. This definitely could be an upset here by the Panthers. I could see it happening,
Yeah.
just because the way the Vikings play ball and just have over this past stretch. But I think the Vikings get this one. I like it like 27-17.
No doubt.
I'll go Minnesota. But yeah, I mean, you
Minnesota,
think
don't
about
you
it with
know?
the run game and stuff. O'Connell coming over from the Rams, like you hit it on the head. They want to run, jet sweeps. They want to hit that short passing game, and then they're not enamored with the run game. But bringing over Cam Akers, Madison was able to get 100 yards last week, so they do want to have balance there with Minnesota. But the defense is an issue, and similar to the Chargers, I think coaching at times is an issue to be in that many close games. I mean, they had 2 possessions inside the 10-yard line to win the game against the Chargers last week. And I thought for sure the Chargers, being the Chargers, were just going to choke it away. And they didn't. They held up. So, yeah, I think this is the Vikings' time to get off the schneid. And like I said, they're as bad as they are at 0-3. They're 2 games out of first place. I mean, it wouldn't take
Crazy.
long to get back out of the hole.
It's crazy.
All right. Anything else to add here for this game?
A win. A win.
One of them has to.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not, but
right.
let's keep going though. Next 1 o'clock game here. Los Angeles Rams 1-2 going into the Indianapolis Colts, who are 2-1. Indy is a 1.5-point favorite here at home. Last week, the Rams lost Monday Night Football to Cincinnati in their Super Bowl rematch of 2 years ago. Tough game. It wasn't the prettiest. They could definitely improve off of that game. Indy had a big upset win over Baltimore. Surprising behind Minshew. It worries me, though, now that you get a little bit of film of the Steichen-Minshew combination at quarterback. No Richardson's still in concussion protocol, so I'm going to go ahead and say he's not going to play this week at a safety, the way the NFL is working and trying to avoid another Tua situation. It worries me with that of Minshew starting again with game film on him now behind this Los Angeles Rams tough defense. I'm going to go Los Angeles Rams here. Technically, the upset here, it's a coin flip, honestly. But I like the Rams. I like Aaron Donald getting past this injured offensive line of the Colts. I don't know. What are you guys looking at?
Yeah, I always did love the stash and the cutoff shorts. I'm going Gardner Minshew and the friggin' horseshoes. I don't care about Aaron Donald this time. I'm sorry, buddy. It's only you over there. You're not that scary when I got an offensive line. So I'm going Indianapolis Colts here. How do you not like what Puka Nuka is doing over there for the Rams? It's hard to ignore that. He's doing incredible as a rookie. But I just love Gardner Minshew. I'm going Gardner Minshew here. I'm going Stafford's playing good and Puka Nuka's doing good and.
As a show of 3 dudes with stashes here, we should all be going Minshew, but I couldn't bring myself to do it.
I'm going Gardner Minshew. How about you, Charlie? What are you doing?
Again, yet another perfect matchup. I mean, just game after game, these matchups they're tough, man. On one hand, you got the Colts, who have the ability to cash in the red zone, just because of the play calling. Steichen's been a genius with the Colts offensively so far. Their defense has played extremely well. And then you got McVay with the Rams, who have lived inside the red zone, but they've been kicking field goal after field goal after field goal here lately. Stafford only 2 touchdown passes on the year. Golly. I like the Colts kicker better here.
Start him.
450 yarders last week, first time ever.
Man, I wish he was on my fantasy team last week. This is another one where I had Rams circled. I think I'm gonna stay with the Rams. This week is just boy. I'm gonna go Rams. I think it's low scoring. Another low scoring game. I think it's like a 27-17 type of deal. Maybe 27-20. But yeah, I'll stick with the Rams. But very easily from the way the Colts have been playing. And they've got the element of surprise right now with Richardson and Minshew. Richardson still being up in the air, second week off the concussion. I'm just very impressed with the way they've been able to structure that offense to get enough out of it, and that defense has made plays every single week of the season, including all the way back to week 1 against Jacksonville, where they scored a defensive touchdown. They held the Ravens in check last week, and surprise, surprise, they're the teams that's leading the division right now.
It'll be another banger,
Yeah.
banger this game. I think so.
I'll ride with the Rams this week.
Yeah, I think
All
so.
right. You guys both riding then kickers then for fantasy. If you got the Rams kicker or the Colts kicker,
I
Run it.
think if you have one of those two, you start them because they're
Run
going to be hit.
I just love the trenches more on Indy, going up against that Rams offensive line. And plus
You're not wrong.
what we don't know about Williams and that running backing core for the Rams, I think that's going to be huge as well. You're going to want to be able to run the ball to give Stafford that ability to go and get it.
we say that, but I've been asking the Rams to have a run game for years now, and even with Cam Akers, it wasn't their guy. It wasn't
No
pulling
doubt.
it off. So
For sure.
they just don't seem to mind. And if they were dependent on the run, I'd love for DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart just to plug those holes and no run game to happen. But the weakness of the Colts is their secondary, and I think this could be a bad showing for them.
I agree. It could happen.
Good.
The
But we'll see here.
Bengals had a buffet against Stafford last week, though. They were getting to him early and often all game long. So it's
That's true.
going to be a
For sure.
strengths versus weaknesses type of game, and whoever ends up holding out at the end, it's going to be a close one, I think.
No doubt.
All right. Any final touches? Ready to move?
No, sir.
Let's keep it rolling.
All right. NFC South matchup, and since we all said Jacksonville would beat Atlanta, this would be for divisional lead here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 2-1 going into the New Orleans Saints 2-1. New Orleans a 3-point favorite here. Last week, both had a little bit of disappointing losses. Obviously, the Bucs couldn't get anything going on offense Monday Night Football versus Philly, so they lost that game. Second half just kind of got away from them. New Orleans, same thing. Second half got away from them. Fourth quarter really got away from them. Carr going down, probably still out. Looks like Jameis Winston's going to be their starter. Obviously, there's a lot of bad blood between these two teams. You got the Evans and Lattimore issue. You got the Jameis Winston and the Bucs organization. They don't quite see eye to eye no more.
Really?
But even though the Saints have a tough defense that can slow down the Tampa offense that you saw the first 2 weeks, I still don't like what New Orleans has to offer on offense, and I think this is a low-scoring game, but I think the Bucs will pull it off just because they have a little bit more juice there on offense than I think the Saints are able to pull off. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucs here too. I'm all in on Baker Mayfield. I think that as well as they played defensively against Philly, I think their defense will definitely be able to hold up. The huge question mark here is the same question mark coming into the season: is what is this offense going to look like against this Saints defense? Will they be able to stay mistake free without the fumbles and the interceptions? Because he's making that quick throw, that quick read to just get it out. And didn't really take time to do his read, to scan the field before he makes the throw, type of deal. And he just goes and flings it. You want to see him stay, mistake free this game because it's a huge game and you need to win this one. He's only got one pick on the season, and that was against Philly and that stout defense with that defensive line coming at him. I think potentially, everybody's coming in. They're still questionable, but, hopefully they'll be a little bit more healthy come game time. And that helps you out moving forward. But this offense got to help out Mayfield. You got to start running the ball. You got to get some yards here. You got one touchdown rushing. I mean, you would like the offense to be doing a little bit better so that the play action can work for him, because that's where his success is. If he can get, the play action working, you guys handing the ball off, getting some yards here. I'm not even talking about 25-yard chunk plays. Maybe like 4 yards, 5-yard runs. Now, that would be huge and massive for Baker Mayfield's development moving forward. It's a huge question to ask going up against his defense, considering they're going to play you guys hard. It's a divisional game. We talk about the divisional games a lot. I'm going Bucks here. How about you, Charzy?
Yeah, I'm swinging the other way. And my biggest thing is still what I've said about the Bucks from week one, which is you've got to be able to establish the run. You can't put that much on Baker's shoulders, and I think that's going to be a problem. The Saints getting Kamara back is going to help relieve the pressure of Jameis starting. And Jameis didn't look bad. He connected with Olave a couple of times. They didn't get in the end zone, but they weren't scoring a lot before Carr went out too. Their offense is still struggling to get going. I think Kamara coming back is going to be a major factor for their offense to start really gelling as they move forward into the year. But yeah, I got the Saints. Their defense has just been incredible. I think it's like 12 straight games now that they haven't allowed an opponent over 20 points. And anytime that happens, you're not going to lose too many of those battles. You have to be absolutely anemic on offense. And they haven't been great. That's truth be told. They haven't been great, but I like their weapons. Olave, everybody else is healthy. You get Kamara back, and just that defense has just been suffocating. That Saints, home field advantage. It's always tough to go in there and pull out a win, whether you're favored or not. And I think it is going to be a tough, grimy game, divisional. I think it could be close, but I think at the end of the day, the Saints pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much working for the Saints offensively. Your leading rusher has 91 yards and 0 touchdowns, and that's Taysom Hill, quarterback / tight end / wherever the hell you want to line the guy up at. So, it's just definitely going to come down to a field goal type game again. This is going to be one of those bangers.
Another one that's only 3.5 points on the spread.
No doubt.
Every game up until this point, nothing's been bigger than 3.5.
Yep.
Wow.
Crazy 1 o'clock slots. But let's go. We got 2 more 1 o'clock games here. So here's the first of the last 2. NFC East matchup. Washington Commanders got their first loss last week. A little surprising there for them to have their first loss this late. Or I don't know this late, but we didn't expect them to be this good of a team. They're going in against the Philadelphia Eagles, who are 3-0. Philly's an 8-point favorite here, so this is the first big differential. But last week, Washington tough. Beat down by Buffalo. Buffalo's a good team here, back, front and back, offense, defense. Philly similar way here, so that could be a tough matchup. They had a solid performance against Tampa. They just kind of outgrinded them, and I can see that happening here with Washington too. Is the game might start off close, but at the end of the day, if Washington's offense isn't able to move the ball, similar to where the Bucs weren't able to move the ball, then Philly's just going to eventually outpoint you because they can move the ball. Running the ball, short passes. They'll hit you with a deep ball every now and then, but they move the ball on offense consistently. So I like Philly here probably with the points here just off last week's showing and from both teams. So I like Philadelphia here. They rematch, kind of a short turnaround here compared to the other ones we've seen, but week 8 is when they'll face each other again. So 4 weeks from now, they'll see each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough for me not to pick Philly here, considering Philly just keeps running away with the games. I like to see Washington win this game for sure, but it seems like this game to me is going to end up unfolding as maybe potentially a game in which the Commanders could win for maybe say 3 quarters, and then when the 4th quarter comes, the Birds are just going to fly away and take the dub. I'm going Eagles here. It's just Jalen Carter's really starting to show up and show out. We talked about that coming into the season. It's an absolute steal. They got the best guy in the draft at like 10 or something, or 11. It's just absolutely incredible. Even with the acquisitions on the Eagles that are chipped up, Cam Jurgens, Quez, Boston Scott, Evans, the safety, it still doesn't matter to me because really roster to roster, Philly's the deepest team, I would say, in the East, in my opinion. And I mean, then you would have to hats off to Dallas coming in next. But I would say talent-wise, they got the bench, so that's why they're capable of out-grinding you 4 quarters. I'm going Eagles. How about you, Char?
Yeah, for me, this game, it caught me by surprise being an 8-point spread, divisional matchup, and styles, matchups make the fight. I don't think that there's so much of a gap because what the Commanders are going to want to do is match up with you on defense. They're going to clog that run lane. They're going to get after the passer. There's not going to be any doubt about that. And Jalen Hurts was hanging on to the ball a long time against the Bucks, which do not have nearly the type of defensive line that the Commanders do. The Commanders boast a pretty darn good secondary as well. Where they've been struggling here of recent, especially last week, is on the offensive side of the ball. I think personally they get back to running the ball because they're more than capable of doing that with Brian Robinson and a host of running backs that they have on their roster. And I think the Commanders find a way to win this game. That's my upset for the week, similar to the Texans ones last week. I think these two teams are a lot closer together. Jalen Hurts has not been impressive so far this year. You're not lying, top end talent wise, Eagles are definitely there, but Washington is not too far off. Now, I don't particularly care for how loose Sam Howell has been with the ball, especially last week against Buffalo. Definitely cost them the game because for 3 quarters, that was a 17-point game. They missed out on multiple times in the red zone, and I felt like they were trying to throw the ball too much. I think Bieniemy be smart. He pulls a little bit out of his days with the Chiefs, which they used to rely on the run game. And it was at times where, you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Kelsey, you got all these weapons, and he's hitting with draws. He's hitting with these run plays that are gashing, and it sets up a lot of these gadget plays. And the Commanders we touched on in the preseason, they've got a nice receiving core. So I mean, the options are there. You just got to get Sam Howell some easy reads that don't make the game more difficult on him. And yeah, I think the Commanders steal this one. They got Washington.
All right. I was going to say, let's not forget last season when Philly looked so dominant, like they could almost have an undefeated season. Washington was the one to give them their first loss there in Week 10.
Yep.
Big surprise. Everyone didn't give them any chance.
It's that matchup. It's
It is.
the D
You touched on it.
line for Washington and the what the bread and butter is for Philly. I think it causes problems. It puts more pressure on Hurts to win the game.
Well, I mean, you're definitely trying to draft to beat your division, and you could tell just by taking a look around at the divisions on how well these teams are built. When you take a look at Atlanta and then you take a look at the Bucks, when you take a look at the Giants trying to build to defend against what the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles have been very successful at doing, which is having a top-notch defense. So what do? You try and go get Saquon Barkley to be able to try and give your quarterback some time to be able to make these throws and these reads so that they're not one-dimensional, they're more balanced, And then the same thing when you look at Washington. Washington has the stable of running backs. They have the wide receiver core. They have the elite players that they need to make it happen, especially in the trenches too, on both sides of the ball. That's the one thing the Giants are lacking is that, that one guy, that Fletcher Cox, that one game changer.
And just a quick stat drop. As bad as Sam Howell was last week, the only thing separating him and Jalen Hurts is 2 more interceptions.
Wow.
That's it. Wow. Just 2 more interceptions. That's not a lot. 3 touchdowns, 5 picks. Jalen Hurts, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks. 240 passing through the air for Hurts, and 640 passing for Hurts, 671 for Sam Howell. So I mean, if it does come down to a QB battle, obviously Hurts has got the experience on his side, and he looked better last year. But this year, there's not a lot of separation at this point.
Philly's winning games on time of possession and being able to consistently move that ball.
Yep.
And that's where I see this game headed.
I mean,
unfortunately,
they're going to be so disruptive with that defensive line. The defensive line in this, Carter and Cox and everybody, and the defensive end that they got coming off from the Panthers a year ago or 2 seasons ago. Riddick's a dog coming off the edge. I mean, they just got it, man, and they just create problems where there are none.
All right. Final 1 o'clock game here. Let's get going. Pair of 1-2 teams: Cincinnati Bengals 1-2 going into Tennessee Titans 1-2. Cincinnati's a 2.5 point favorite here, so another one of those coin flips, close-up matches back to it. Cincinnati last week got a victory over the Los Angeles Rams Monday Night Football. It wasn't the prettiest game, but hey, they're back to winning, so give it to Cincinnati. They needed that. Tennessee, embarrassing. Couldn't get anything going against Cleveland. If you included the sacks, you take away those yardages, they had less than 100 yards on offense. I think because they had like 130, they had like 115 passing and then like 30 yards rushing, and they had like 40 yards sack or whatever. I forget the math, but it's less than 100 yards on total offense if you take away the sack. So bad showing. I don't think Cincinnati might not have that defensive pressure, but they have the offense to score points like Cleveland did. They can throw the ball like Cleveland did. Watson had a good game throwing against Tennessee. I see Tennessee having a hard time stopping Joe Burrow and these receivers. I'm going Cincinnati Bengals. What about you guys?
Yeah, I've been betting against Joe. It's the first time I'm going to take him this year. I'm going to take Cincinnati Bengals here. Take Joe Burrow. Take Joe Cool and Cincinnati Bengals. Looks like the Tennessee Titans are chipped up, and they just haven't been firing on all cylinders. And Tannehill's throwing more interceptions than Burrow, so Tannehill's at it again. Tannehill's at his old tricks again. I'm taking the Bengals here. How about you, Charlie?
Yeah, as it stands for 3 starts, any quarterback with 3 starts, Tannehill's by far the worst quarterback in the league right now. I can't see a good reason why at this point in time you don't plug in your young quarterbacks that you've invested back-to-back second-round picks in. Either one should give you the same kind of ability with what you want to do, which is run the ball. As Tannehill at this point, I shake my head. I know you're paying him a lot of money, but the proof's in the pudding, and he's just not producing. I think it's time to turn the page. If you're Tennessee, I don't think it's going to give you any worse of a chance to win a game like this than if Tannehill starts. Just my personal opinion. I like the Bengals. I like the Bengals. Number one, they've had the Titans number over the past couple of years.
Even
Number
in the
two,
playoffs.
yeah, the Bengals defense is playing good. They have a very good defense. They held Baltimore in check. Then they held the Rams in check last week. I don't think they're going to have a big problem with the Titans, especially on the defensive line. Cincinnati is very, very good. If they are susceptible to something, it's a little bit of the past, but that's definitely not, what the Tennessee Titans are all about. And I do worry about Burrow though, because that defense for Tennessee still has some playmakers on it. They still have those studs up front to get after the passer. Get Mixon more involved, Cincinnati. Let Joe heal up. Don't make him throw the ball 30 times this game. Just be smart with the dude. Let his career move forward.
Yeah, be smart.
You just paid this guy $200 million. I mean, keep him upright, and
I feel you.
if you won't have to throw the ball, Bengals win though. I got the Bengals.
Let's go.
All right. Anything else to add here for this game or any of the 1 o'clock games?
That's the 1
Any
o'clock.
final fantasy tidbits?
Fantasy wise,
Any sneaky picks, sneaky plays?
Well, that's a tough week all the way around.
it is.
Some good matchup.
If anybody gets the 1 o'clock slate completely right, please shoot us a picture of your cheat sheet that you picked. Because to me, I don't think you can. And it's only 8 games, 9 games of the 1 o'clock games. Not a lot, but man, they are so close. These matchups are killer good.
3.5 points, everybody. 3.5 points for everyone.
They're all spinning. They're all spinning dartboards you're throwing at right now to pick a winner.
It really is. I mean, because you can make an argument for every other side in that window of games. That's valid.
Sure.
It's the roulette table. Red, black, and then the 1 in 100 odds that Eddie gets a tie.
Right?
I think Eddie's tie. I think his tie is in play, man. I think it's in play. I really, really do.
I'm a legend if I get this tie. I'm a legend.
You got to get it one time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the 1 o'clock games.
Check us out.
Deuces.
Thank you. Deuces.